this is the way. My name is Mark the Canardian, and this is episode 61 of Holocron Chronicles. I'm joined, as always, by the dancing man. If anyone's not watching the video, you're missing out. Charlie Carden, how you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm good, man. It's as good as we can get for Monday. Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. This is always something I look forward to on a Monday, is recording either with you or Todd, alternating weeks. But it always, like, it kind of makes Monday like an event, so it's not quite like a case of the Mondays situation kind of thing. It's usually like a good time. It's it's something to look forward to. So here we go. We are also joined by not one, but two amazing guests this week. We have I'm going to say multiple time returning guest because I can't remember exactly how many times. This is your third, fourth time on the show at least.
Fourth time on the show.
Fourth
Nice.
time.
I love it.
I have to check the notes. You might be our top returning guest, or maybe at this point tied with Okairo. So I have to check some numbers.
I have to win.
It's not just because she's on the payroll, of which we don't actually have one. She's on the hypothetical payroll.
Yeah.
Also,
Kay,
the least
back.
competitive person I think ever. So
Right.
the fact that I was like, I have to.
That's good. That's good.
And a familiar voice for people who listen to all of the Secret Friends shows, especially Code 47, but a new voice for this show. We are incredibly happy and lucky to have Missy Merchant joining us.
Woo!
Missy,
thank you.
Welcome to the show.
Feeling good. Good to finally be here.
Excellent.
I'll infiltrate all of the shows at some point.
Good to have you.
Missy and I are just slowly planning on taking over everything.
It is.
Exactly.
It's the SFU virus.
Yeah. I'm feeling a little overwhelmed by Star Trek people tonight. I'm not going to lie. It's a little. I'm feeling a little like, where's my lightsaber? But we'll see how we get along. So with Kay, you've been on the show. So if there's any of these questions that like you think you've changed the answer, or you want to like chime in at any point, just jump in there and you can update us on your Star Wars origin. But as we do with all new guests, I'm going to ask Missy how you got into Star Wars.
So speaking of Trekkies, I was a diehard Trekkie almost from birth. So I didn't even watch my first Star Wars until I met my husband approximately 13 years ago. And
wow.
He's like, you cannot claim to be a full nerd if you haven't at least watched them. So we had a sit-down weekend, watched them all the way through, all the first 9 movies at least, and we've watched everything since then. So I was kind of hooked from the start.
Yeah,
so, that's marathon through?
We did a marathon through in one weekend to do the first 9 movies.
That's kind of wild for someone who's kind of in our age bracket. Now, Missy, I know you're about 10 years younger than myself, which means that the three of you are closer in age than you are to me. But, Mark and I have had a lot of people on the show who are like as old as my oldest son, who's, in his mid-20s, not now mid-20s, my God, who are like, yeah, I grew up with the prequels and blah, blah, blah. I love the Phantom Menace. And I'm like, okie dokie. But to meet somebody who in their late 20s, early 30s watched all of the movies for the first time, that's wild. That's wild to me. So that's pretty impressive.
So I have a couple of follow-up questions to this. One, what order did you watch them in?
I was told that my husband consulted his Star Wars, we call it his best Star Wars man, that we had to do it chronological. In order of release.
Crystal ball. Yes.
In order of release, not in order chronological timeline.
Right.
So really good timing. I saw a Twitter poll about someone introducing their friend to Star Wars for the first time, and it was like 120 votes or something like that. I think I was the 121st. And it was, how do I do it chronologically of like timeline order or release order? I voted for release order. So I'm right there with that best man. And it was 51-49. So it is like the most divisive.
It's and not even a conversation of the classic kind of machete order, which is, what do people say? You watch 4, 5, then 1, 2, 3, then 6. I mean, is it looking at the first two trilogies? Is that the machete
Oh,
order?
the machete order cuts out, depending on I guess the machete order, but machete order usually would cut out most, if not all, of Phantom Menace, which I think is a travesty. And yeah,
It's my man Maul that way.
You get a little choppy woppy.
You can't cut up Maul that way. Ooh, no, you can't.
Nice. This is what ruins the Thanksgiving dinners.
Right.
Yeah.
These are families divided.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, yeah. We've gotten it. We've reviewed all of the movies and everything else. Like, there's reasons why these are important, and especially the Duel of the Fates means so much more than just a cool lightsaber battle. The first time you see a dual-sided, dual bladed lightsaber, like there's so much more to that. You need it. I hate the machete order. Yeah. So what?
Oh, wrong song.
Watching them all like that, all at once, very quick succession. What was your instant favorite movie out of everything, watching them all that quickly?
Answer carefully. No,
no wrong answer. Never invited back.
You're out.
Not possible.
Never.
Out of the first,
we've heard everyone.
Out of the core, I'd say like the core 9 movies, I would say probably episode 1, just because my favorite Jedi is Qui-Gon Jinn.
Strong argument.
But if you included the shows, I would have to go Mando. Mando's just hit my heart from day one.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and when you first watched, if this was 10 years ago, then you the sequel trilogy was not out, so you just watched 1 through 6 essentially.
Yes.
There were no shows. Well, there would have been some Clone Wars, but that's it. So just those films. So wow, strong. Taking Qui-Gon as kind of your lead indicator, saying maybe the movie isn't the strongest, but Qui-Gon, he's hard to argue with. So that is that's tight. I like that. No one has ever, Mark, who's ever come on and said I love episode 1 has necessarily. Everybody says Maul. I love Maul. Nobody stood up for Qui-Gon. I like that quite a bit.
Oh, that's so rude.
I know, right?
People mention him as like some of their top Jedi or top characters or something, but it's I don't think we've ever had. I think you're right. I don't think we've ever had someone mention him specifically as like the reason they love episode 1. But
I just remembered a great dad joke to follow up the ruining Thanksgiving that Kay mentioned. A mall divided against itself cannot stand because he doesn't have legs, baby.
That is peak dad joke.
Thanks, folks. I'll be here all week. Don't forget to tip your waiters.
Is this where we just like cut Charlie off and we're like, okay, Charlie?
Right.
That's it. Yeah. Oops. Charlie just got.
We don't know what happened.
What's going on?
As the person that controls Zencaster, I do have mute switches. So if anyone,
I knew my power was limited. No.
So liking Mando as your like kind of top Star Wars, that's something that surprised me recently. As again, a Twitter poll, someone said like, who's your, if you see this, reply with your favorite Star Wars character, and it made me pause. And for the first time ever, I didn't share a picture or a GIF of Luke. I went Mando because it was just after the finale, and I was just like, I don't know. There's something about Mando that's just like Star Wars. So what is it about that show that I mean, obviously you're here for a Mando recap episode, and we'll probably get into some of it later, but what is it about the Mandalorian that like screams Star Wars to you after kind of recently binging everything?
I honestly don't know. I think it's just how much it encompasses. There's so much depth to it, especially for being a TV show. They really have so far evolved a lot of the characters, I think. And I don't know, just something from the start. Like I liked the bounty hunters. I really liked Boba. I liked Jango. And just kind of having this Mando, I was like, all right, I'm interested. Let's see what we can do with this. And so far they haven't disappointed me. So
yeah.
Rock on.
That's a big part. That's awesome. So is would Mando be your favorite character, or what would be your favorite? Mando, Qui-Gon?
Mando would be my favorite character, and if I had to do a top 3 like entire franchise, it would probably be Mando, and tied for second would probably be Grand Inquisitor and K2SO, which are very random.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Those things make an unholy peanut butter and jelly and pickle
Right.
sandwich. That's for sure.
That's my life. That's my brain, Charlie.
I know this.
like those
I know
answers,
you.
though. I kind of want to pick those apart more in depth, but I'm not going to. We'll move on with the show. But those amazing answers that say, I think, a lot about you and your choices, and I am
What
loving
it
that
means
so
we
much.
will not
And
say.
it's no, exactly. I'll leave that up to whoever's listening to decide
I have a
what that
question.
means. But yeah,
Missy, have you played Knights of the Old Republic?
I have not.
Oh, I feel like you'd really vibe with HK-47.
Oh
Okay.
yes, yes. Kay is carrying that banner yet again, and understood.
Yep. Yeah, I like when you guys bring the weird answers that like we haven't heard.
You
or
can
like
count
don't
on
come
me
up
for weird, I
much.
promise.
Yes,
It's great.
putting the whoch in weird. That's for sure.
So now I have no idea where you're going to go with the rest of these. So I'm just going to throw it out there: light side or dark side. If you woke up tomorrow with some force powers, what would you do?
I mean, I have Stormtrooper tattoo, so I'm gonna have to say dark side still.
Ooh, nice.
Commando, but
All
still
right,
dark
all right.
side.
All right, we'll keep an eye on you then. See, I knew this is the risk about inviting Star Trek people on this show. Is
Right.
We get some Star Trek creeping in. We get the Force lightning, the dark side. You guys are just sketchy. Where's my lightsaber? I swear to God.
This guy I don't have any weapons around me. Pick up and throw an action figure at you.
So I've got my Mando helmet. I got a couple of lightsabers back there. I'm fine. Lightsaber color of choice. Speaking of lightsabers, what would you choose, or what would choose you?
I would have to imagine red. You know, dark side. I don't think anything can quite strike fear in somebody as that nice red glow.
Mm-hmm. Although we have seen with the Ahsoka trailer some like deep orange, so I'm really interested to see kind of where that goes. But
deep
like,
orange.
yeah, the reds.
My favorite band from the 70s. I love it.
The red is definitely like one of those. I never really messed around with a red lightsaber, and I was taking some photos a few weeks ago and like did some red lightsaber photos, and I was like, oh shit, I get the appeal. Like it's just, I don't know, there's just something about it that's just like, oh man, yeah, this is kind of badass.
If
I
we
want a
could,
lightsaber that's like the pens from like the 90s where it was like you clicked it down and it
Oh,
just would
right.
give you a different color of pen. I need it, but I need it for lightsaber colors.
It's like a mood saber.
the real Nexus was trying to push them all down at the same time, and then
Oh yeah,
having
absolutely.
it,
And then you break it. Yeah.
and you could have it cause a rift in the space-time continuum. Now, if we could ever pull Mark down from Atlantis to do some photos, oh my God, like have us all, because all of my cosplay stuff for Star Wars is stacked away in the garage, but I'd break out my lightsaber for Mark if we ever got into the US, to do some cosplay photography. Kay is an incredible photographer, so that would, I don't know, someday.
Gosh.
True.
Blah, right back at you.
I will say, Kate, I don't know if you've searched any like Xenopixel lightsabers and the stuff that they can do, but holy
I haven't,
crap!
but I'm totally not doing that right now.
So they can do like color change. You can make like patterns and stuff. So you could actually have a legit like rainbow lightsaber that cycles through all the colors all at once and keeps going. They can do really cool different effects. Like the one that I have is just like a standard RGB lightsaber, and it can cycle through any single color that you want. Affiliate
They have a
link
dark
in the
blade?
show notes. Oh hell yeah! Affiliate link in the show notes for Level Up lightsabers if you're interested.
Yes,
Never
and I
mind.
just ordered a new
guys, I'm
lightsaber.
done. I'm gonna go drool over the lightsabers.
you must go now.
Yeah.
You can't leave.
Sticking on lightsabers, we've got a dark saber drool happening right now. So I'm gonna throw out there favorite lightsaber designs, like lightsaber hilt designs.
I gotta go with the Grand Inquisitor's spinning dual mode. I mean,
they spinning.
Gotta have some spinners.
Yeah, awesome.
I would also probably chop my own head off, but
yes,
just saying.
but would it be worth it? Sounds like it might be.
Might be.
What a way to go!
Lightsaber,
and now I have no head.
That's going to come up in a second. Any lightsaber that allows you to jump off a building and say, "I'm Mary Poppins, y'all," is good in my books. That's all right.
Synergy.
Okay, you've mentioned Sith. You've mentioned bounty hunters. If you could only pick one, what would be your favorite affiliation?
Bounty hunters.
Nice.
Bounty hunter, dark side, spinny, choppy head.
Yep.
Oh, just like Django. Oh, there you go. That's how he met his Waterloo. Lightsaber to the neck.
You will never anticipate answers from me. I promise I can be that weird and I will not go with the flow.
Well, here's your chance to be as weird as you possibly want, because a new question that we have been asking is, if you were in the Star Wars universe, what hilarious, stupid, mundane, or ridiculous way would you die? It could
For example.
Yeah, for example, you could, spin your lightsaber and accidentally chop your head off. You could see a Rancor and be like, "Here, kitty, 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 come here," and it just, bites your head off again. It could be just any kind of thing you want to. We had like space poop at one point.
I was the Ewok Wookiee three-way. If you can really picture that.
Nice.
Yeah, we've had someone having a poop, and then the Death Star explodes, and they're just like flung out with the space
shot
toilet.
through space like Dave Chappelle. Woo!
We've had some weird answers, so let's see what you can top of. And Kay, I don't think you've answered this one either, so feel free to come up with something goofy.
Mine would be pretty. Mine would be the reason why they finally put rails on everything, because I am clumsy and I will definitely just randomly trip and fall, and then they'd be like, "Oh, maybe if we just put a railing here."
Yeah,
this could have been
finish the floor.
This could have solved so many problems. So many stormtroopers didn't have to die and get force pushed over a ledge.
I know, wrong show, but it's kind of like Gotham City doesn't need Batman; they just need OSHA.
Yes.
Oh my gosh! Ouch!
Absolutely, yeah. Just finish a floor for once. Gosh, come on, Empire.
I would die. It would be more hilarious probably than Kay's, but similarly, I imagine like being on one of the non-railed catwalks, probably flinching, thinking I hear something, or panicking, shooting myself in a lower extremity, and then plummeting to my death.
Ow, my ass! Wait, how did you do that?
I wasn't doing anything weird with this. I don't know how it went off.
Right.
I was just playing with it.
I don't know how this happened.
Or I would sneeze and accidentally cut my head off with a lightsaber.
Right. There you
go. Yeah. That was my original until my wife changed it. I was thinking like I'd be the idiot to stare into his lightsaber and turn it on.
Wait a second. Is this thing on? Yeah.
Yeah. And then I tried to make friends with a raccoon, and my wife was like, No. Listen. Here's how you're probably going to die in real life. So Star Wars would probably get eaten by some giant beast.
Here, kitty, 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 and it's a panther.
I don't know if you guys
interacting with raccoons. That doesn't sound familiar at all, Kay.
Right. Oh, no. That's right. You guys had some fun raccoon time up north this weekend.
Yes.
And you just like that like it's classified, like that was like,
okay, long story short, we shuffled a raccoon off of the side of the road who was very disoriented.
For the full story, please visit patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite. Mark, we did not remember to give love to our Patreons, but the great news is one of them is here already.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we could do that right now. So thank you to all of our amazing Patreon members, including Kay. We have or Missy and Missy. I'm sorry. I'm also looking up the full Patreon list because I don't want to. Oh my God, my computer's doing some really weird things.
I got it. So
you have it here. All right, because
I have it here. Our Patreons do include the wonderful Missy Merchant, the great Nias family. That would be Sean, Stella, and Henry. Our Missy's friend Andy. I'm going to screw up her name. Milliken, thank you. And Jamie Prinky. We appreciate all of you very deeply from the center of our heart. If you're interested in getting more Secret Friends Unite content, including listening to Kay or Missy and I talk about old TV shows on the Facts of Geek Life, or the Canardians Corner with Mark, or a lot of the other stuff that we do, you can visit, as I had mentioned, patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite. And sign up for a level of interest, and you get a lot of great, fun, new content. So anyway, that's my plug. Back to your regularly scheduled program.
Actually, before we get back, our friend Force 99 just dropped on the regular feed. So if you're listening to this
Yes.
right now, the episodes are up. The last one actually drops as we're recording tomorrow, but as you're listening to this yesterday, time's weird. So that's how. Anyway, they're all available right now. Charlie K and myself did a special like limited series to cover the rest of the Bad Batch episodes. They dropped as a Patreon first show, and now as you're listening to this, they're all on the normal feed, so you get a tiny little taste of some of the stuff that's like, you know, Patreon first or at least Patreon supported, and you can listen to that and hear what we all thought about the Bad Batch.
Yes, please. You got it.
There you
Cool.
go.
Woo!
The Bad Batch got kicked off of this show because Mando started. So
Mando.
let's move straight on to the Mandalorian recap. 2 episodes. Holy crap. Did anyone else feel like this season just flew by way too fast?
I mean,
Absolutely.
you know, yeah, you're right. It was 8 weeks, and it started when April and I were on the cruise, so that was the first week of March, and here we are, you know, at the end of April already. It was just like kablamo.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got 2 episodes to talk about. Mark, did you want me to do my regular
Absolutely.
and knock this deal out? All right, cool. Episode 7 is The Spies. Rick, not even going to try it. Famuyiwa was the director, and of course Favreau and Filoni did write this deal. Came out on April 12th. Moffat Gideon is informed by the terrible Eliza Kane of the Mandalorian's intent to retake their planet. Gideon relays this information to the Shadow Council. Ooh, there were no ghosts.
Ooh,
in
the
there.
shadow.
Yes. Ooh, the shit. Yeah, like the old radio drama, right? A group of Imperial remnant warlords. Easter egg time. He requests reinforcements from Commandant Brendel Hux, and informs Captain Pelion, another Easter egg, on the absence of Grand Admiral Thrawn. Another Easter egg. Reassembling on the Apollo Creed planet, Bo-Katan unites the Mandalorian clans and prepares a recon party to explore the surface of Mandalore and locate the Great Forge, the Great La Forge, I would prefer. Before leaving, Apollo Creed presents Din Djarin with IG-12, a rebuilt version of IG-11, which is able to be controlled by Grogu for the purposes of marketing and cuteness. On Mandalore, the group meets another surviving clan who is loyal to Bo-Katan and doesn't care that much for personal grooming. Bo-Katan admits that she surrendered to Gideon shortly after the Night of 1,000 Tears, boo-hoo, hoping that her people would be spared from further harm. Womp womp. The party finds the Great Forge, but is ambushed by Beskar-enhanced stormtroopers. They fly now! Din is captured by the Beskar-clad Gideon, who reveals his intent to complete the Great Purge of Mandalore. Dun, 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 bump, bump, bump. He attempts to kill the search party, but Bo-Katan uses the Darksaber to make an escape for the group. Pez Vizsla stays behind to buy time, but is killed by Gideon's, I was going to say Patreon guards.
Yeah.
I know, yes. They're
Do
paid.
we have guards now?
Yeah, they pay us. Killed by his Praetorian guards. Oh my God! That was episode 7.
Woo. All right. I have so many thoughts. Holy crap.
Well, did you want me to crank through 8, or do we need to do 7 and then talk about 8? Is it too much emotion to handle?
We need to do this one at a time, because I need to stop and talk about IG-12 Grogu for like 2 seconds.
Yes, no.
Like,
they turn him into Captain Pike with the beeps.
No.
Yeah.
as a father to a 2.5-year-old, like, holy shit, that spoke to me.
Yeah, right.
Oh my God. Like,
bedtime. No. Bedtime. No.
Like,
put on pants. No.
And it was such a like child, father, grandfather kind of like thing, like where like grief was just the grandfather, like, put him in the suit, don't worry about it, and like the dad's just like, no.
Here's the Christmas present of the thing that never stops talking with you, but I've got to go now, sorry.
Yeah, let's just put a 2-year-old and a destructive assassin droid and just see what happens. It's fine. It'll be fine. Just
what's the worst that could happen?
Reprogrammed. He's not an assassin anymore.
Right.
It was so good. I actually ran out of time. So I tried to watch this episode while I was eating breakfast and finish it at lunch, and I ran out of time and had to watch it after work or during work. I think actually I was a bad employee this day.
Very responsible.
And but I laughed that hard. I had to stop. I had to rewind it and watch that again. And I watched that scene like 3 times because it was so delightfully stupid and amazing and spoke to me on many levels. So if you guys want to add anything to the rest of this episode, feel free.
Yeah, that's all we got. No, that's all you got. But yeah, Kay's rapping. So go on.
I have anybody else just get like peak weeb vibes from Gideon when he shows up in his like cosplay Mandalorian armor, where he's like all I could think about was all those dudes who like wear a kimono and have like a samurai sword that they got from the mall up on their wall, and they're like, I don't know if you know this about like Japan culture, but like I'm really into it.
Japan
Like that's all I can think of when he's just
reminds you of
fan
same guy that
facing
cuts their
over-
sake with Red Bull.
like the
Yeah,
dude,
exactly.
like
He
the
would do that.
dude like Dietrich Bader's part in Napoleon Dynamite, where he's the
Yes.
martial arts instructor, and who's like, I learned this from seasons fighting in the octagon, with his big American flag pants.
Yeah, he's got a waifu pillow of the armor or something.
Yeah, right. Oh my god. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But to play
100%.
with that from like the parent person, like if you're gonna do like the child, parent, grandparent, like I could totally see myself when my kids do something, be like, I can do something cool too. Look, I can be cool. It's okay.
Mom, you're not looking. Mom.
Yep. Absolutely. Oh man, yeah. So the what did you guys think about the armor aside from the big weeb vibes? Like what?
I hate that the villains get all the cool armor.
Mhm.
I thought his armor was really cool. He's got like the
So
horns
badass.
and shit, and I was like,
Well,
man, I don't want to cosplay
yeah.
freaking Moz Gideon, but also he looks badass. And I loved that they had it where he had kind of enhanced himself, where you could hear the mechanisms in it
Is it
because he's
an
like
Iron
Yeah.
Man
kind of-
suit? Yeah.
yeah, it was
So-
like an Iron Man suit, because he knew if it just came down to skill versus skill, he would not be able to take on a Mandalorian.
get
So he had
whooped.
tried to give himself some sort of advantage.
So
I don't think he built that for the Mandos.
the whole time Kay was hearing, I hate myself for loving you.
So that's a great point that I want to bring up, because at the end of this episode, we see they have no problem killing Mandalorians. They have no problem killing Paz Vizsla, but he keeps Din alive.
No problem. I mean, they
Okay,
he killed
no.
a
I mean,
lot
like
of troopers.
Yeah, he
like
was, he was
no
throwing
no
down.
hesitation. No, they have
Oh, yeah,
trouble
okay.
killing them, but no hesitation to kill
moral
these
difficulty.
people.
Yes.
Yeah.
No moral difficulty. That's what I was trying to say. But they keep Din alive. I have a theory that's not just convenient writing for this, and that is that who's the only person in the galaxy that we've seen so far that Moff Gideon's afraid of, or that handily kicked his ass and went through all the old dark troopers?
I mean, yeah, he's terrified of
it is
Jedi. Luke in
definitely-
particular, yeah.
Luke.
Mhm.
So he wants to put force enhanced clones of himself inside enhanced new age, next generation, Beskar enhanced dark trooper armor. He's not building this to the Mandos. That's step one, just because. Step two is keeping Din alive, because he knows that if Din has Grogu back and Grogu went with Luke, Din knows where Luke is. And he can go out and he can go take on Luke
Right.
with this new army, his enhanced force sensitive clones, his Iron Man suit, all this kind of stuff. So that's why Din was kept alive and saying like, you're coming with us. Cause he was going to either mind flay him or torture him until that, like, where's Luke's location?
Right.
He didn't build that suit. He thought he could just mow down the Mandos.
Right.
He thought the Great Purge Part 2 was going to be a cakewalk with this new stuff, right? Like he didn't anticipate this to be a fight. He was fully ready to just be like, okay, cool. I'm going to mow the lawn / these Mandos, and then I'm going to go after Luke. Like that was the main event.
This was just the appetizer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was it. That was
This is
like,
your
yeah.
this is your calamari and the salad. Now get ready for your flank steak. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So and at first watching it, I was like, oh, convenient they left Din alive. And then I was like, oh shit. There's
Yeah, see, I
reasons.
took it as that's a really good point because I took it as just because Din had kicked his ass so soundly on Navarre.
Yeah,
That I was like, oh, he probably wants is prideful as Moss is. He probably wants to take him out himself and revel, do the evil monologuing thing, and then kill him. But also, I think that's a really good good theory.
Yeah, exactly. Especially since the tech, exists to, and again, the Klingons have it too. Star Trek did it first. The mind ripper, where you can extract information and then be like, yeah, then he's going to find Luke, and he has this, wet dream of wearing his fancy armor with all his fancy boys coming along, and we're going to kick Luke Skywalker's ass. Which, you know what? Come on. Nobody ever kicked Luke Skywalker's ass, in the final analysis. It wouldn't have worked out. Plus, all his clones, get blowed up. But we're not gonna get that. We were jumping into the next episode. That's where that came from, because this episode just ended with Din getting dragged off, and you're like, oh no, what's gonna happen? And then yes, the Jon Favreau slaying. Even though, I was listening to another podcast today. It's that you never see Jon Favreau in the Paz Vizsla armor. You this entire season you never saw Din with his helmet off, so it was kind of stand-in city, which is a bummer. You know what I think? Because I feel like once it was okay for Bo Karen or Bo-Katan to take her helmet off because she walks between two worlds. Why couldn't they get to the point where everybody could, kind of let their balls hang out, for lack of a better expression, and take that helmet off? You know what I mean?
Maybe if they don't want to, that's okay, Charlie.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah,
you're right. It's touching their comfort level. I understand. Don't force your values on other people. Because
not everybody's going to be a nudist just because you want to be.
Yeah.
A nudist from the neck up nudist. Oh,
I took the Bo-Katan. I took Bo-Katan walking both worlds, as they're going to stay in their world, and there's going to be the modern Mandalorian world, and she's going to help them navigate and kind of complement those two worlds.
Zipper back together
versus trying to merge them back together and make people make compromises. And I also read an article because I was curious about that. Pedro Pascal does have a body double, but he also is in the suit a lot of times, even when he's not, when they're not showing his face, because he's like, I really enjoy playing the character. Right. So even though it's not he was still on set and he was still doing a lot of the work.
Yeah.
Even though we never actually saw his face.
Excellent. I like it. Good stuff. All right. Mark, are we moving on, or other thoughts?
Yeah, I do. I actually, I want to mention as a fun fact, he actually has two body doubles.
Oh, gotcha. It's a big job.
So we have Lateef Crowder, who does some of the work, and then the other one's Brandon Wayne, who is John Wayne's grandson.
What?
I knew about Brendan.
Nice dig, because I'm a cowboy.
Yeah.
Pew pew pew.
It's funny, apparently, if you kind of know, you can pick out scenes where it's one kind of establish the walk, one does a little bit more of the really action heavy kind of stuff, or the stances and that kind of stuff, and then Pedro Pascal kind of has to mirror what they do physically in the costume.
That's the acting.
Yeah. I'm getting someone else here it's showing there's another actor, Barry Lowen, but I don't know, it's just coming up as him as another anyway. Yes, Charlie, we can continue on with the rest of the show.
Well, get ready to tee up the big golf ball for the long swing. Episode 8 is The Return. Again, it's Rick F. and written by John. Hey, look,
Famuyiwa.
Written by Mr. Favreau. Bo-Katan and her Renaissance Squad. Reconnaissance Squad.
I mean, it's a Renaissance for the Mandalorians. We can say that.
Her Renaissance Squad retreat from Moff Gideon's base. Upon returning to the Mando flagship, Mr. X Body Spray, X-Woves, sends the remaining Mandos to reinforce the planetary troops. I was impressed how he flew all the way to the ship when fuel was an issue, when they were earlier when the different Mandos were chasing that weird bird, but whatever, plot armor. While he defends the ship from Imperial TIE fighter squadrons. Awesome, actual Star Wars. I'd love to see that. With assistance from Grogu, which is awesome. Din escapes from captivity and seeks out Gideon. Saw that coming. Din and Grogu discover cloning tanks filled with clones of Gideon who can use the Force, although they didn't come out and say, blah, I can use the Force. That comes out a little bit later. And Din destroys them. But of course, after a lengthy skirmish between the Mandalorians and the Beskar enhanced Stormies within the base, Bo-Katan, Din, and Grogu make a final stand against Gideon and his Praetorian guards, in which the Darksaber is destroyed. X-body spray woves rams the Mandalorian capital ship into the Imperial base, and Gideon is consumed in the resulting blast. Yes! Grogu protects Bo and Din from the blast with his Sue Storm Invisible Girl Force Bubble. I like it. After the battle, the Mandalorians restart the Great Forge at the heart of Mandalore, and Din formally adopts Grogu. There's a legal ceremony. A judge shows up. It's very touching. And they take a picture. Afterwards, Din takes up an honest contract work from Carson Teva, who is the New Republic dude, the pilot, and moves into a cabin on the outskirts of Navarro's capital as previously offered to him by Apollo Creed. While IG-11 is rebuilt by the little dude mechanics to serve as Navarro's new marshal. And the scene ends with Din with his feet up, drinking a beer, and Grogu torturing a frog, which might mean he's a serial killer. I don't know. Don't read into it too much. But the end. Everybody's happy, or are they?
Yeah.
No.
Holy crap! What a last episode.
I know.
I'm gonna start off by saying this to me could have been a season ender.
Series ender.
Or a series ender. I mean, rather than a season ender, and I would be satisfied with that.
Totally. Yes.
It's also very telling that the camera effect that they used, the zoom in, the black circle kind of thing that they used for that final shot of zooming in on Din and Grogu, has been usually used to signify the end of a chapter in Star Wars. So if you've seen that before, it's the end, usually the end of like a movie or something that's, this chapter's closing.
The long,
so it's
kind of play out, the long music, like the end of episode 2 or the end of Return of The Empire Strikes Back. Yeah.
So we're, does that mean this is the end of this chapter? So that's, if this fight was like the first Avengers movie, or, are we coming up the next few things, like Ahsoka is starting off, that wave 2, the whatever it is. Or what's next? Is Ahsoka next? Yeah. Ahsoka would be next, right?
August. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
August.
Yeah. So yeah. How did you guys feel kind of like overall, like as this story wrapped up? Was this like a good season ender? Are you guys as high as I am on this one? Cause I thought it was amazing.
Oh, totally.
Missy,
Oh, go ahead, Missy.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, this was 100% space opera, and I am here for it.
Yeah.
Like, it felt like Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah. Missy?
Yeah. I mean, if this were to be a series finale, I do think it was a nice little bow on everything, but the way they set up for the adventures to come, there's going to be so much more to explore moving forward with it. So the emotions were real. The tears were real. I cry at Star Wars. It's fine.
Yeah, I didn't
it's breathe a space opera. Like You're supposed minutes. To cry,
right? I mean, another thing, super space operatic that last episode of Picard that we'll be talking about on Code 47. I cried several times because it was very emotional. But
this is Star Wars, not Star Trek.
I gotta be me, woman. I gotta be me
on Sunday.
I gotta be me. I am the Bo-Katan of SFU. I walk both worlds. I take off my helmet. It's over there in the corner, but I'll put it on if you need me to. Doesn't fit so good over the headphones, but I'll still do it.
So aside from an awesome wrap up, Charlie, are you as high on this as everyone else?
I absolutely. While I think it's very hard to recapture all the thrills we got out of the season 2 finale, leave out of the comparing of that to the fact that this was, the satisfactory conclusion of something that goes further back than anything related to the Mandalorian. Obviously, in season 2, we got Bo-Katan and her cohorts and their quest to retake Mandalorian, but they had no plan. They had no motivation. They didn't even go to Mandalore because they got that ship, and all of a sudden we were like, okay, what are we going to do now? Nothing. Okay, well then Bo-Katan is going to go sit in her chair and eat pizza because that's what she did. While the rest of them were like, we're going to be freedom fighters and we're going to keep the ship. So it took Din to come back and say, what are you guys doing? You guys got to get your shit together. If you're going to, if you got to take Mandalore, maybe the first step is we should actually go there and see what the hell's going on. So it's like, Captain Obvious got on board, the good ship, Dum Dum, and they went to Mandalore. And only by doing that were they finally uncover the evil plan of Moff Gideon that he'd been operating from Mandalore all along. He'd been stealing from the Great Forge. He'd been hooking up his stormtroopers with this these fancy ass duds, doing all of his cloning, even though he sold out Dr. Pershing, and then had his mind put in a blender so that he wouldn't obviously ultimately end up revealing what's been going on since the beginning of the series, that they were trying to suck the force juice, as it were, out of Grogu and put it into Moff Gideon body so that there could be the ultimate soldiers. But even this was the one that evil was punished, where it was back in the season 2 finale. It was just great to see Luke Skywalker wrecking shop and kicking some ass. This was, like you said, a satisfactory conclusion. So what I didn't feel was season 2 was the best season of the show, in my opinion, so far. This season had definitely had its it was kind of like a hot pocket. The middle of it might have been frozen, but the outside of it might be somewhat edible. But this delivered. I think this absolutely delivered, because you got what it felt like was the end of this 3-year arc that started at the end of the very first episode when we see Grogu for the first time. Why is this little child special, and how can we sell more merchandise? Oh, we figured that part out. But it kind of took us all the way to the end of understanding what purpose he really served in being so pursued by the ultimate bad guy. Now I had a buddy of mine who said, "Oh, Moff Gideon went out like a punk." I mean, how else would you like to have seen him gone out? Just like, kicked in the balls, or have the dark saber shoved up his ass or something? I don't know. I mean, how else could he have gone out? I think it was fine that he got, the big explosion, like so many bad guys die in the big explosion, right? So I thought that was
with no body, do we know he actually died?
Right, and he was wearing the Beskar, so Mando survived worst.
Exactly.
And I said worse. He survived worse.
So that's something else I want to bring up. We talked about the clones. Was that Moff Gideon? Or was that the first of the clones that
he
finished?
Was that the beta tested clone?
That's
right,
it.
Exactly. Right. And they all got turned into fajitas. So what difference does it make
the next
now?
Batch,
right? Yeah, exactly.
The next batch did.
Well, yeah,
Moff Gideon somewhere else.
You're saying, are there little Moff Gideons out there running around? But you're right, because he made a big deal out of it, like, you killed my clones and I'm so mad. But could that have just been, I mean, he's an Imperial, he's a liar, so he could have just been spinning a yarn. So once we get to this Filoni movie, which is supposed to bring together Boba and Ahsoka and Mando and all the Mandos, and then Thrawn, are we going to then find out that Thrawn's like, and here's my army of Moff Gideons, and they all jump out and they're like, yeah.
I think it'd be interesting if Moff Gideon came back as an ally, a reluctant ally, but I'm picturing him as a Loki kind of, like, you don't know when he's going to stab you in the back. He's going to stab you in the back.
Right.
But who does Moff Gideon hate more than Mando? Thrawn. He made it very clear that he does not like Thrawn. Right. So if Thrawn's the big Thanos, then Moff Gideon could be a very sketchy kind of Loki character that's like, I hate having to work with you, but I'm gonna, and it's not gonna end well for either of us, but we got to take out this big blue jackass before he takes us out. So I like
Reminds
if
me
they
of
take him back, I want that.
the captain in Rebels that ended up betraying.
Yeah. What is his name?
What was his call sign? Now I can't remember, and I'm sure
drawing
that everybody
a
who's
blank.
listening to this is screaming at me.
Oh my God, Kay! How could you not know it's Captain? Blah 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 blah. Yeah, exactly.
Probably. Yeah, I don't remember what his but yeah, he was the one who was very racist against.
Callus.
Yeah. Oh, Callus. Yeah.
Callus.
Yes. What an appropriate name. He was very.
He was very
Callus.
Yeah. I mean, I have to say
Nailed it.
that for for a show that really focused on kind of like a found family vibe, because you see that a lot in other shows, and then like at the end climax fight it's like all about family, and then it's just your protagonist who solos the bad guy, and he's able to overcome it just because of sheer will, even though they fought several times and he lost. And this one, they were like, no, Din wouldn't be able to beat him, but Din's now got Bo-Katan, now got Grogu, and you actually had this family culmination of like mom and dad are kicking ass with their kid. Like they brought their kid out for like Saturday night at Chuck E. Cheese, and now they're kicking Moff Gideon's ass.
Which I mean, we're going to talk about one of the cry moments.
He's the electric rat. Yes, exactly.
Well, and one of the cry moments for me was when Din actually had to, look at Grogu and be like, instead of being like, "You need to not be here," like, "Hey, I need you. Like, I can't do this without you."
Yeah, and he was like prepping and being like, "This is how it's gonna be hard." Although, side note, why did you make all of those stupid barriers? Like, where was that helpful?
Right.
If you hadn't have had Moss Gideon, okay, some notes, Moss, for when you build your next layer. Do not siphon all of your guys off in pairs of 2, because if someone comes down the hallway, you need them to be able to all attack at once.
So it's kind of like Dr. Evil and says, "No, I'll just set up an elaborate death and then I'll walk away and assume everything went to plan."
Exactly.
I did like that we got the Mandalorian MCU Netflix hallway fight scene. Like that was fantastic. Like
it was great.
Weird plot points aside of like Star Wars loves those weird doors though. Like we're going right back to Phantom Menace. Like that's kind of what screwed over.
It's a weird door.
The Qui-Gon fight was like those, like, what were they, blast shields or something like that in that fight, right?
Sure,
so, but I mean, this time it's doors, but whatever. That was kind of a weird little like, okay, here we go, video game style. When you walked into in the first screen.
Yeah, in the first scene, I was like, why would you put it that? Because it's like, oh, okay, they close behind him, so then it's like, if you get someone, they're just trapped there, and then it's like, no, they just stay open, and I'm like,
yeah.
And
what
again,
is the defensive
no railings.
aspect of those? Yeah, and then no railings. So once again, my ass is cooked because I would just
Yeah, right. Here, fall into this lava pit.
There was literally nothing to grab onto because you can't even grab onto the barrier. Like you just bounce off the barrier.
Was you in that first barricade, Kay, the one that just kind of hurled himself off?
Yeah, right.
Oh, that was definitely me. Yeah, that was my first. That was my cameo. And Mando, I'm glad you saw it.
Thank you, Imperial OSHA. We appreciate it. That's how they were defeated.
But yeah, I do really like that they just the whole family aspect was actually a continuing theme from start to finish, and then obviously with the culmination of Din actually adopting Grogu and him becoming Din Grogu, because that was super cute.
That's something I want to ask about is the name. So is Din Grogu would suggest that Din is a family name.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
But we haven't seen that with any of the other Mandalorians. Like Paz Vizsla is the family name. Bo-Katan Kryze, like Kryze is the family name.
Different sex. Well, no, it wouldn't be. And I said sect, SECT, not the other one. Yeah, but that doesn't work because Vizsla and Din were apparently. I'm gonna go with meh.
That's it, right? Like I don't.
It'd be easier to say than Djarin Grogu. I don't know.
Grogu Jaren?
Maybe so. It would fit less easily on a customized license plate or a state ID. I don't know.
Maybe it has to do with who Din's culture's family.
Right. Before he was adopted by the Mandos.
Right. So his Din Djarin simply always been his name, and he's in the Mandalorian recognition. He's the first of his clan. because he was conscripted.
Oh,
or
he's
he
the
was,
clan of one. Yeah.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
So he's making his own rules. He's like, maybe he was sounding out the different names. He said, no, Din Grogu is better. So that's what we're going with, and
Or
then
maybe at this point, like Din will now be, like in future iterations of the clan, Din will
Right.
eventually become the last name, like it is
Right.
now with other clans once the
Yep.
clan is established.
Once he
Who
just
knows?
he ends up adopting other pets, like, no, I'm going to bring in this dog and maybe these 3 cats and maybe
mean,
this bird. Yeah, there you go.
I love Star Wars. They're not always like super up to date with the canon. They're not.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes they play a little fast and loose.
Right.
Do not mind. That's
Yeah.
part of it's fantasy and space. I don't mind.
And isn't it great that they have a fan base that's so understanding of such things and let things? But I'm sorry, I can't keep a straight face when I'm saying that.
Absolutely accepting and wonderful, especially when you include women and black men. They have
women and black people all will live one day. Oh my God, it's great. And people of color and trans people, and it's all gay people. It's all super cool. It's great.
If you're upset by this comment, then tough.
Yes, please. Yes, please at all of us on Twitter so that we can
promptly ignore you.
That would be precisely.
Subliminal message. Yeah. Star Trek is
this ain't your show. Stop listening. Just straight up, you're dancing around it. I will tell those people to go pound sand somewhere else. You're barking up the wrong tree. Please don't give us your listens. We don't want them.
We don't want them. Go pound sand, son. Boom.
I know there's kids listening. Otherwise, my language would be a lot saltier. I want to jump back for 2 seconds. And we already talked about Moff Gideon's potential to come back. I want to ask you guys about some of the fake outs, because I think on this show and like on the internet in general, expected a mole within the Mandalorians. People were giving Axe Woves a pretty hard time. People were giving myself included, 100%. The armorer didn't trust her shifty ass for a second. And boy, was I wrong. Holy crap, was I just devastatingly wrong. How did you guys like that there was no, like they hinted, I think, at even up until the last episode.
Yeah. Right.
Like Axe, when he was telling everybody to leave, and I was like, Axe, wait, what? Axe, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
And slow down.
Same thing, like the armorer just kind of takes off, and then suddenly they get ambushed by troopers. Moff Gideon comes out with the spikes on his helmet. She has spikes on her helmet. It's like, oh shit, these guys are still like, is she following Maul? Is she with him? What's going on? And then she comes down.
Maybe it's because the armor is just, I'm obsessed with her. So I never saw my sweet armor baby. I'm also a metalsmith, so I was like, yay.
Right.
But I was really terrified that when she broke the clouds, when she was going up to the survivors, that she would break, and then like they would full be under attack, and the entire fleet would be gone. That's what I was afraid of when she broke clouds. But also, I'm very prejudiced, so I could never see her betraying anyone.
Oh, I did 100%. I'm very happy to be wrong. Emily Swallow is fantastic. The armor is great. I didn't trust. It was just the spiky helmet. I was like, she looks like Maul. And then as soon as Gideon came down with the spikes on his helmet, I was like, shit, yeah, there goes the armor. We're done. That's it. Toast. And then she comes down, just kicking ass, taking names, hitting people with her hammer and her friggin' tools and flying through the air. And it was just, like,
hammer and tongs, so man. Good. Hammer and tongs.
So good.
Grabbing some stormtrooper nuts. Crunch! Ouch! So
what did you guys think about like that kind of like bait and switch of there's a mole? Did you have any, like, again, I was 100%. I thought the armor. Did you guys have any theories about who it was, or like, were you happy with how everyone kind of turned out to be like legit, and it was just Moff Gideon and what's her name just being turds?
I mean, I'm definitely happy there was no moles. If earlier on, not these last 2 episodes, obviously, but I had Paz. I was like, man, he is always against it. He's always got to rub feathers the wrong way.
Right.
He's just
it'd be my vote.
He's not putting a lot of skin in the game. No pun intended. He doesn't take his helmet off. But up until he's the sacrifice, I was like, man, he is going to screw something over.
Right.
Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah. I wasn't necessarily given that a ton of thought, thinking about moles or anything like that. But which is funny because it seems to happen in every show I watch. 24, there was always a mole every single season. I just wasn't really giving it a lot of thought. I guess I wasn't listening to the chatter on that one, so shame on me. Yeah. So Tisk.
Yeah. I thought it was going to be more of like kind of the internal conflict that you got with Paz and Axe on the on the like
yeah.
floaty boat. I don't know, fan
Floaty
boat.
boat.
The floaty boat.
I don't know what to call
Where they were playing.
That's the new canon
Were
name
they,
for that.
okay,
by
no,
the way.
side note,
100%.
side note, they literally see a mountain moving on the horizon, and they're just like, let's just keep driving towards it. I'm sure this isn't going to be a problem. Nothing bad ever happens to me. Like, why didn't you stop?
Especially not on like space Australia.
While they're sitting playing passive aggressive chess.
Yes, but I
Okay.
thought.
I was gonna say, so counter argument, maybe they've gone through so much that they're like, you know what? A moving mountain towards us, let's just see what happens at this point.
Let's just
Just
get on its
go
back.
left.
They are
and
Mandalorians.
take us, yeah.
Just go left. Just give it a wide berth. You don't have to go right towards it. Just stand.
It's the Mando effort methodology of kind of
Yeah,
how
there's
they
definitely
do
a
stuff.
YOLO situation for this.
Mandolo.
It's a culture of like Steve Irwin with guns. Like it's just like, hey, what's that giant mountain of a creature? I think I'm gonna go poke it in the butthole.
Let's get a
Like,
closer look.
Oh, crikey.
British instead of Australian. I'm tired.
Crikey, almost hit my finger in the butthole.
Like it just like they're gonna go towards that.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So I saw more of the internal conflict being the source of a problem where like when it came to a crucial moment, one of them wouldn't back the other. And I honestly didn't really think of betrayal and like I never liked Axe, gonna be honest. But I didn't see betrayal or consider betrayal until he was like literally running on the ship and making everyone leave, and I was like, don't even want to keep a gunner? You don't want to keep anyone? And really? No one? Okay, sure, I guess.
Bold choice, Cotton. Let's see how it plays out.
Exactly. And so that was the only like moment where I was like, maybe they're not all on the up and up. But I was glad. I was very very pleased to be disappointed by that.
Yeah.
I also liked how he didn't really have to like holdo himself. He just shot the window out and jumped out because all Mandalorians have jetpacks. So it was kind of like, all right, cool. I thought like maybe possibility his jetpack doesn't work and he makes a sacrifice play, but it was like, nah, I'm just going to yeet myself out of the window and just like crash a ship into Moff Gideon's face. Eat that, sucker.
I may have been narrating that as that scene was playing out. I'm like, you don't have to go down with the ship. You can fly. You don't have to do this.
He checks his watch. He's like, oh, yeah.
I don't got time for tea first. It's fine.
And I'm out.
About, F off a clock right here.
Oh, man. I'm checking Twitter and I'm like, oh, I got to go.
Did anyone else feel a little sad for Kanan Jarrus watching this whole thing go down and be like, how does that tiny little frog creature survive this blast and keep his friends safe and not have to sacrifice himself when I did from an explosion? Like it was basically like that same kind of explosion.
I'll tell you what, it's because he wanted it more. I mean, wasn't that what they always say in sports? He wanted it more.
He just wanted it more. Yeah, that's it. There's a wife, unborn child, full crew. Kanan definitely didn't need to stick around.
Right. Guess not. Well, like I said, he didn't have those force cojones, I guess, to really pull that stuff off.
The only other like part that took me out after watching this, that when I thought for a second was, I know Grogu's like a child, but he's also older than his dad, which freaks me out in a weird way.
Right.
Like a Futurama situation.
It's really like,
he's the professor. Good news, everyone.
It is like, okay, cool. It's my, 35th birthday, and here's my 50-year-old frog son.
Over there in the corner smoking a pack of cigarettes.
All of a sudden he gets his voice finally. It's gonna be, who's your daddy?
And he said thanks.
Run down to the snow and get me a sixer.
Said thank you or thanks after they took out the Praetorian guards. It was a good job, kid, and he said thanks. But it was so like moved on. He said his first word.
Big thumbs up.
I thought I noticed that he was saying, it sounded like at the end when like after everything had happened that he was speaking some sort of language, and I imagine that
in that direction.
Well, and I wonder, because he was at the academy
with Luke, Luke's
Yeah, if
Rock
he did,
Academy.
yeah, if he
None other than
or
the other.
before like Order 60 before
yeah,
Order
yeah.
66 went down, he was at
Back
the
in the old
academy, and
days.
I'm
Right.
wondering if he did have language and if the trauma of that caused him to regress, because I believe they were talking about that before. Like
Right.
Ahsoka talked about that a lot. So
The
I'm wondering if
darkness.
he's actually more advanced than what he's been able to like kind of showcase because of all of that past trauma, and now he's finally, because he's got a family, we're going to start seeing language, we're going to start seeing a lot more development if they continue with the show. Now granted, again, this was a good series wrap up. If they don't, we
Right.
can just imagine all the fun adventures, but I would still love to see it continue.
Don't
Missy,
you play with my therapy heart,
I
man.
was
Come
gonna
on.
say, can you therapize Grogu as a professional, Missy, and
I
talk
can.
if
I will
that
do
would unlock
EMDR
his
on him. It'll work out fine.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. Yeah, if you don't know, Missy is a professional therapist by trade, so she's got skills. She knows.
So I did want to ask it, Kay, you kind of leaned into this really, really well. To kind of wrap things up, where do you want to see this go? Do you want to see Din as more of a backup character doing cameos? Like, I think saying he's going to work with the rebels or the New Republic or whatever, and go to the Outer Rim, I think leads to a skeleton crew cameo potentially, because that's kind of where this happens, right? Like the skeleton crew kind of takes place in the Outer Rim. Do you want that? Did you want him to kind of show up like a Hulk or something, like other people's shows, or do you want a season 4? How are you guys feeling after this wraps up? Like, what do you want next?
I would honestly love to see just kind of like a monster of the week kind of flavor where, like it doesn't have to have anything that's like super, super plot wise as far as like how like focus more on story character development wise, and just letting them both grow and exist comfortably where they're at, and just having some escapades, just going around, finding some weird stuff, helping people of the Outer Rim, maybe occasionally he can come across other stories and some deeper stuff, but I don't need something that's like super heavy plot wise like they've done with the past 3 seasons. Like as far as overarching story, conspiracy, all that stuff. I would just like to see them continue with the characters.
You 100% described Strange New Worlds, so it's become Star
I know,
Trek.
but I did not mention Strange New Worlds,
I know,
because I understand I'm on a Star Wars podcast.
Yes, but I understand that I do what I want because it's me. But yes, no, that's what I think really makes formats very different, because the majority, I'm not going to use the Star Trek word, but the majority of shows out there are very arc based, and we've got 10 episodes, so we're going to have this thing happening, and then you come along to the occasional program that does a monster of the week, and we're going to go from here to there, and it's going to be different. The characters have some consistent threads, again, not naming any specific shows. The characters have different threads, and then overall you maintain that flow, like, okay, I can tune into episode 3, and if I didn't see episode 2, I'm going to be fine. So that's, I 100% agree with you that it would be
Charlie,
cool.
tell me about Strange New Worlds without telling me about Strange New Worlds.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm sorry, have we met? I don't know. Who's Charlie? I don't know. I'm Cloak and Dagger. But either that, or maybe put the character on the shelf until we get to the Filoni film. But that is if that happens, because they have not really confirmed that this show is going to go on at this point, have we? There's a lot of like meh.
Well, we do have confirmation that Jon Favreau has written season 4.
Oh,
he's already been writing stuff. Now, whether or not they do that, he could just be writing random shit down on a napkin.
His own fan fiction.
Kennedy is gonna love it.
It's all fan fiction until they produce it.
He just exactly, like he just kind of said, but like she could be like, no, we're shelving this. We're waiting for the movie, and then Grogu's gonna go help Rey establish the new Jedi Order or something like that in the next movie that's gonna happen, right? Like, right. They could do anything at this point. Nothing's been officially confirmed aside from Jon Favreau's writing some shit. Missy, where do you want this to
go? If there's going to be a season 4, I agree that I think I'd like to see it more episodic. We don't need to have necessarily the huge overarching angsty plot, but I think they could do some good stuff with, we're going to take this mission this week. We're going to go on this adventure this week. Just see what kind of shit we can get into.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Show us more of the Star Wars world or galaxy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Star Wars it up. Go Warsy.
Right. I would like, Kay, for what you said, like the monster of the week or mission of the week or whatever, like that worked for Supernatural. I kind of loved when they did that. I was a big Supernatural fan of but I loved as much as, you kind of get into like moving the story along every little once in a while. I loved when they would just go like, hey, we're going to go fight a vampire. We're going to go solve this mystery. We're going to go like this.
That's what it needs to do. Space vampires and bring in Jackson the Rabbit. That's what I'm talking about. 6 foot tall green rabbit. I mean, come on, let's party.
So Charlie, you're not saying that he needs to go on adventures and see Strange New Worlds, right?
No, he needs to see very bland, generic, like continents.
Maybe join me on the next episode when I have all new guests and then new co-hosts.
Oh, I know. We've really triple teamed him, and not in a good way.
To be fair, he invited Kay and I himself. So
yeah. Oh yes.
This is
fair. My hands are clean.
Missy and I did not mention Star Trek except for to harass Charlie for mentioning Star Trek so much.
You are both fired from Star Trek.
Co-hosts, same guests.
Okay, Charlie, you cannot fire me from Star Trek. You can't do that podcast alone, baby.
Oh no! Yes, I don't like the alternative.
Who's going to get you celebrities, baby? Come on.
All right, don't just quit sweet talking me.
We'll guys have some power here. I like this. Charlie's backed into the corner. Charlie, what about you? What do you want from this?
I mean, I think it's all been said. You could go in either direction, but definitely the heavy of Mando. I think the time has kind of passed. But I'd like to see, Adventures of the Week, which the show has done a lot of. But it's done it as like, here's a little fetch quest, here's a little of this, here's a little of that. But it's, people generally get annoyed, like, why isn't, it's like, why haven't we gotten to the fireworks factory? Sorry, another Simpsons reference, which nobody gets. That's a Poochie. I've mentioned Poochie, Itchy and Scratchy and Poochie. I know I've talked about it before, but I digress. I would like this to be that case, like, oh my, I can't believe I deal with this.
Voluntarily.
You literally mentioned Poochie in our last podcast we did together.
Why don't you go and watch the episode and then you can know what I'm talking about? Itchy and Scratchy and Poochie. Google it. You can find it on Disney Plus.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, we've all seen it.
Yeah.
No, okay.
No one mentions it 4 times an episode.
I don't know what you're talking about. But anyway, yes, as I said, I would agree. I think the episodic deal would be cool. I also think that taking a little Mando break would also be okay, the way we've hopefully put Boba Fett on a shelf. That they don't give us another.
I was disappointed we didn't get Boba Fett, to be honest, in this one.
Yeah, that was something that was bandied about. I could have seen Boba being like, and here's me, and all my little buddies from
Mandalorians. I was pissed off we didn't get him, and that was such a perfect time to bring in Sabine. Like, plant that little bit of like, hey, all the Mandalorians are back together.
That's a Mando group text. Yeah,
I think there's maybe too much history between her and Bo-Katan to have a quick cameo. Yeah, where that might be something that's more played out in Ahsoka. Like, I think I would have been honestly a little disappointed if they just kind of threw her in the mix to throw her in the mix, because I really want to
bad debut.
Yeah, I want to see her with Ahsoka because I know that.
Yeah.
I know that there's already an established story there, so I feel like that would make more sense.
But Boba for sure, because it was really caked on, baked on in the Boba series that Mando was a part of it. So because they had that whole last episode, it was all that pew 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 and fighting all the bad guys. So that was lame. So I agree. Boba was missing from this. He should have been there and had something to do.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if you're gonna bring the guns, like bring every gun that you can. That's an easy one to make a call. And
so many guns, and Fennec as well, obviously. Or she could have been back home 10 at the store or whatever. I
don't know if they really had time at that point to go, because Bo-Katan had just gone and grabbed her group of mercenaries, and then it was like, man, stuff's going down. So they didn't really have time to swing around and grab everybody else.
Right. Yeah. It was not on the itinerary. Got to stick to the itinerary.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you guys said pretty much everything that I was kind of thinking. I'd love to see him do little cameos in other shows, but I think
Oh,
for like
absolutely.
The Mandalorian, take a little bit of break and establish until we get, you know, the next thing that he has to kind of go at. And I'd love to see Mission of the Week kind of stuff, but I also think Thrawn on the horizon, and we've seen a little bit in this season, space pirates starting to do their thing. And that's apparently kind of one of the falls of the New Republic is like space pirate uprisings and stuff. So
Right.
I would, if they're going to establish a big bad for season 4 that's not Thrawn, I'd love to see space pirates and like the fall of the New Republic, especially since he's working with them now.
Right.
Aside from that, I like going like way forward. I think I already mentioned, I'd love to see. So by the time that the next like Rey focused new Jedi Order story comes out, it'll be, I'm going to say 45 years, I think would be like my quick math.
Yeah.
From season 1 of Mandalorian to 15 years post Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
40 or,
say
40 or 45.
Somewhere 40 to
Yeah.
50 years, somewhere in that stretch, which puts Grogu at 100 years old, which we know that Yoda was training younglings, Jedi Master by the time he was 100 years old. Not saying that Grogu has to keep up and, match everything that Yoda was doing, but it's been established that, like his species can master the Force and do that kind of stuff. So like, who better than to bring some bit of the old stuff? Like you could have Cal Kestis in there if he's still alive by the end of Jedi Survivor.
Right.
Hopefully,
look
but
how
he'd be a
Obi-Wan.
pretty old dude at that point.
Mhm.
So like, I think throwing Grogu in the mix of like, yeah, I survived Order 66. I trained with the Jedi.
Let's
I went through
party.
some shit. I'm a Mandalorian, but I also use the Force. Like, yeah, okay, I'll help you establish a new order. Let's do this.
You just described like his Tinder profile,
I like long walks on the beach, surviving purges.
3-2.
Green eyes, patchy white hair, and
I'm a Mandalorian, so I always bring protection.
I like heavy metal music and long walks on the scarred beaches of Scarif.
Absolutely. I think there's some exciting places where this can go. So we'll see. And you said Ahsoka is up next in August.
Yep.
So until then, we have this is the last weekly thing until August. We have Jedi Survivor coming up at the end of this week. Next week for May the 4th, we're getting Young Jedi Adventures. We're getting Vision Season 2. So we'll have some more stuff to cover on the show. On the show. But we're not getting a weekly series. So we'll have to keep coming up with stuff.
Yes, we will do it. That's what we do. Awesome.
Missy, Kay, I want to thank you so much for joining us for this recap. What a season. And I'm super happy you could both join us to kind of give your thoughts and help us close out this awesome season of Mando.
Absolutely. It's always a pleasure.
You
Same.
got it. Cool. All right. Well, Missy, where do people find you out there?
You can find me on the socials. Most of the time I'm active on Instagram on @MamaMerch.
Excellent. Kay, what about you?
And for me, you can find me at Twitter at QTGeek. That's Q_T_Geek, or at CounterSocial at KQuinn.
Excellent. Mark?
You can find me everywhere, especially these days, really hanging out on Instagram more than Twitter or anything else at _Canardian or on our Discord channel.
Yes, always our Discord, which I love. You can find me there as well. I'm over on Twitter at the C3. Go ahead and spell it out. Kay, Missy, and myself are part of the USS Grand Petoskey, run by my wife April and I. That is one of the largest chapters of the International Star Trek Fan Club in the world. We're part of Region 13, which I run, which is Michigan and Eastern Canada. If you're a Trekker, even listening to this show, within the sound of my voice, and would like to learn more about how to connect with other Trekkers, I am your guy. Find us at that name at most socials and at a website of that same designation. Drop us a line and we'll help you out. And as always, friends, thank you for joining us. I'm going to tell you that sharing is caring and to keep on trucking.
Charlie, since you've never made it to Eastern Canada, could I do a hostile takeover of your Star Trek fleet
I
from Eastern Canada?
dare. The nearest guy is there in Nova Scotia, but his chapter is small. I think there's to be a good chance you could take him over. Don't tell him I told you so, but I'll tell you where he lives. I've got his address.
Be easy to find, I'm sure. May the
That's
force
going to
be
be
with
cut out
you.
of this one. That should be cut out. Just
Okay, maybe we'll
I do
see.
not want to be accomplice to this. I want plausible deniability. No proof.
Canadian hit crimes.
Is that a thing?
It is now.
It will be
They're
now,
too
yeah.
for
It
that.
is. The only trail I'll leave is maple syrup. Cover my crimes. All right, may the force be with you, everyone. Rex, play us out. This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. Visit secretfriendsunite.com for more great shows, articles, news, reviews, and more. Secret Friends Unite podcasts are available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and other podcast services around the world. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can join us on Facebook or our new Discord server, or follow @SecretFriendsU on Twitter. Please subscribe to Secret Friends Unite on YouTube and visit our merch store at tpublic.com. Just search Secret Friends Unite. Thanks for listening.